welcome to a special episode of Cocktail or Neat. So, with Thanksgiving coming up here next week, we figured we would do kind of a special Thanksgiving episode, especially with everyone's Thanksgiving going to look very, very different this year compared to most normal Thanksgivings. So, what we figured we'd do is just share some ideas that we came up with for things that you can do with friends and family during this time. Us, like many, we're going to keep it very, very small. We're not going to see my parents. We're only going to see her parents. And then we'll do the flip-flop for Christmas just because we want to keep our circle, our bubble, small. So with that said, one of the really fun things you can do with family and definitely with friends is you can do a virtual Zoom bourbon flight. So what I did here is I figured out 3 bourbons that are very easily available for everyone. So it doesn't matter where in the country you are, everybody can pick them up, and I kept the prices relatively low. So that way there should be no problem with people picking these up. And then you, as the bourbon lover, can share this with other people that maybe haven't gotten into bourbon, want to get into bourbon. And then next thing you know, you're going to have tons of friends that are into bourbon. And then Zoom call tasting might become
a weekly thing.
Yeah, a new weekly thing. Who knows? So with it being Thanksgiving, the first bourbon for your flight, which I kept it to 3 bourbons that I highly recommend, is, of course, Wild Turkey 101. I mean, it's Thanksgiving. You can't go wrong with the turkey theme. It's 101 proof, so it's right in that perfect range. If you've been drinking lots of whiskey, if you're new to whiskey, it is a perfect go-to. It is one of those bottles that you look at and you think, oh, it's just Wild Turkey. It's not going to be very good. This is something that in blind tastings does better every single time and will surprise you and your guests. Plus, again, it's one of those that if you do have some people over and you do this blind with them, you're going to surprise them and they're not going to realize that. So it's a great one to go with.
Okay.
The second bottle that I would recommend, and this one you can, if you decide to do it in a flight or if you decide to space it out, this one's going to pair well with that turkey, especially if you deep fry that. And that one, I'm going to go with Old Tub. So Old Tub is Jim Beam. Jim Beam profiles generally have a peanut note, so that's why I'm saying if you deep fry that turkey, it's going to be really good because you generally deep fry that bad boy in some peanut oil. So that'll go great. If you are going to do this with some people that are generally used to bourbon and actually like higher proof stuff, then my caveat would be to just do Knob Creek. So Knob Creek is another Beam product, and that is going to be higher proof. So that's 120. That's why I wouldn't recommend it if you're doing it with just your everyday people trying to get them into bourbon. You kind of want to keep it a lower proof with the bottled and bond of Old Tub, which is now readily available nationwide thanks to COVID for like $20. So you're talking about $15-20 for the Wild Turkey, $15-20 for the Old Tub. If you go up to the Knob Creek, you're talking $35-40. And then for finishing this off, the one I recommend, kind of your dessert bourbon, which is one that hit the market last year, 2 years ago, and got really popular, disappeared for a while. This is actually my 3rd bottle of it, and that is Old Forester 1910. So that is going to be your most expensive bourbon. That runs you about $45-55. But that is a double oaked product. So what that means is after they age it, they're going to put it in a second barrel, a light toasted barrel. And so when that comes out, you're going to get those marshmallow notes. It tastes a little like s'mores, and you're going to get some smoky notes. So it's really like drinking kind of a s'more that you just got off the campfire is what it really tastes like. So those are my 3 bottles I recommend. And then if you really wanted to just have that bonus bottle, which you can usually pretty easily find, I picked one up tonight actually because I ran out of it for $35. It was on sale at Kroger. of all places, Wild Turkey Rare Breed. So Wild Turkey Rare Breed, the reason I wouldn't recommend that with your normal 3 is that is a barrel proof. So this is 116 proof. It's going to hit like 116 proof. But that is a great full proof, barrel proof product. You can't go wrong with that. And if you got people that are getting into bourbon, you can always put an ice cube or a little bit of water in there and see how it changes the flavor profile and opens up. But something that we'll be doing for Thanksgiving, something you can do for Thanksgiving, is get a Zoom call going, have your friends pick these bottles up, and then just share it, talk, and enjoy. That way you're not, doing the 4-hour Zoom call. You're doing like a half an hour Zoom call, tasting some good bourbon. Or you could even do what my wife is going to do, which is make a cocktail.
Yes. So, just to comment on these, the Old Foe is very delicious. Would it be a spoiler if I said that I would drink that neat, or should we save that for an episode and I taste it? I think I'll want to taste it and decide officially. So one of my favorite cocktails around winter and the holidays is a hot toddy, and that is what I'm drinking today. The way I like to make my hot toddies is with hot tea because I really like hot tea. So instead of just adding the hot water, I like to make hot tea and then use that to mix in with the bourbon, add some lemon juice and some honey. And I've got a cinnamon stick for a little extra garnish tonight in my hot toddy. But it's just really good. I like having warm cocktails. Occasionally, if we have some apple cider, I like to heat up apple cider, and then instead of doing the hot tea, I do the apple cider, and then I would skip the lemon juice and honey, but just some cider and bourbon and a cinnamon stick. Is that that's a version of a hot toddy, right?
Yeah.
That counts still. Yeah. So that's what I'm drinking is my hot toddy with some chamomile, vanilla, honey tea, and then I added the extra honey. I like to add quite a bit of honey for the sweetness. Should I tell them what bourbon I put in here?
Yeah.
For my hot toddy? Do you have it back there?
Yes.
So I did the Sazerac rye. I did need a recommendation. I asked him what would be good. I'm not gonna lie. I got approval from the husband on which bourbon I was allowed to use in my hot toddy. So he has suggested using a rye in hot toddies. You want to explain why a rye is good to use in hot toddies?
So just with the honey and everything like that, generally those are really sweet notes. And so when you make a cocktail with a lot of sweet stuff in it, you're going to want a lot of those herbal notes and spices to come through on the back end. So with rye, you're getting a lot of herbs, a lot of spices, everything like that. And so it really complements the sweetness up front very well. Another great bourbon to go besides this, because Sazerac can be hard to find, is your High West Rendezvous Rye or Double Rye. You can't go wrong with that. And these are both $30 bottles. Some places the Sazerac's going to be a little bit more just because it's hard to get. I think the one place around here that you can find it regularly, it's $75. So my buddy Chuck up in Illinois, I always ask him for it and he can get it for $30. The High West you can find just about everywhere and it's $30. So really for old fashions, this is our go-to mixer.
Old fashioned or hot toddy? Both.
Old fashioned. And
Okay.
then hot toddies, we kind of experiment around a little bit.
Okay. By the way, I'm glad you did not pay $75 for that bottle. We were about to have a problem here. Good to know that you shopped smart and stayed within your budget for that bourbon.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and just kind of overall, I guess like ryes too. I like the spiciness on them, so it's nice to have in my hot toddy as well. So I think it's a good, Thanksgiving drink. Pre-dinner, post-dinner, during dinner, whatever. It's a really light cocktail, with that tea warming you up. And I only do a 1 ounce pour of my bourbon and then kind of water it down with my tea. I don't like mine very strong because I do want it to be that nice sippable. I want it to taste more like tea than bourbon. If I want to taste bourbon, I'll just have it neat and not mixed in with my tea and my hot toddy. So I kind of play around with the amount that I'm putting in my cocktail. But yeah, about a 1 ounce pour of bourbon, fill it up, kind of taste it as I go to get that proportion right with the amount of tea. And then, of course, sweeten it up with quite a bit of honey and then a nice splash of lemon juice. And you're good to go.
So that is what we're going to kind of do for Thanksgiving with some of our friends. Friendsgiving, if you want to call it. And just something that you can do too. So have a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully your wife, unlike my wife, who recommended I put the Christmas tree up today because it's not even Thanksgiving yet.
You need to enjoy it for a while.
No, you have to finish the turkey first. Once the turkey's done, then the tree goes up. So enjoy Thanksgiving, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.